Thursday, April 20th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to chat with Town Manager Mark Ells. Then we'll hear from State Representative Randy Hunt about a budget amendment that could give some Cape residents more options when it comes to internet providers. And finally, we'll catch up with Town Councilor Jessica Rapp-Grassetti on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. Town Manager Mark Ells approves several fee changes. Approved fee changes include increases to rental fees at the rink rental fees at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center, a small increase to the fee to use town property, and changes to the transfer station's sticker replacement fee. The rate changes will take effect July 1st. You can read the full list of changes by visiting the town's website, looking right under the notification section on the top right-hand corner of the homepage. Do you have an old refrigerator or freezer you need to get rid of? You can recycle it with the Cape Light Compact and get yourself a little bit of cash while you're at it. Whether you are upgrading to a new model or clearing out an old appliance, the Cape Light Compact is offering residents a $100 rebate for recycled refrigerators. Are you interested? All you need to do to sign up is for the program, you have to sign up by May 31st and to have your old unit picked up by June 30th. You can visit capelightcompact.org to learn more. Well, up next, we're going to chat with Town Manager Mark Ells. So Mark, kind of a quiet week this week, only because school vacation week, so a lot of boards, committees, and commissions aren't meeting this week. Many people are away, but we're still hard at work here at Town Hall. You, of course, are getting in your office as well as the finance office with Mark Milne, getting ready for the operating budget. Recently, Town Council approved almost the entire capital improvements plan. So kind of moving along in the process, where do we think timeline will be for the operating budget?
At this point, the operating budget is done. It's a matter of packaging it and presenting it to the council and the public. Basically, the way it'll flow is, the orders are written. They've gone under review by myself, finance and legal, which is standard procedure for all the orders. So they'll either be into council for a first reading, their next meeting, or the subsequent meeting. Just depends on timing. And the actual budget itself will be printed and available before May 4th. And we also post it online as soon as it's ready. So, very quickly you will be able to review the, the FY18 operating budget.
Wonderful, very exciting that our residents get have access to that information online. But if they can't, you said it's also printed. Where could they view a copy of a printed copy in case the computer isn't there?
In various offices, we make it available. Actually, if anybody calls, we'll work with them to get them a copy. I believe the libraries get a copy. Some other major locations, all the department heads get a certain number, so they either have them or, again, if they need more, all they need to do is ask. People don't ask for hard copy any longer. The immediate question is always, can I go to your website? Can I see it there? Inevitably, if they have the time to look through it, because they're large documents, we'll typically get comments back saying, well, I couldn't find what I was, I can understand that because of the volume
it's a very
of
big
information.
Document.
We also have open budget, though. If you go to our website and go into the finance department and look at open budget, and within open budget, you have an opportunity to view the current fiscal year and two prior.
Wow.
And that's both for capital, it's capital and operating, the two major pieces of our budget, and then the other side of the budget is revenue that we're projecting. So you can see all three pieces from open budget. And you can go in, for example, and say, okay, how much money is the town manager's budget in FY18? And you can get that information. Then you could say, how much is his expense budget? And you can go in and see what the expense budget is. And then you can say, well, what are the line items in the expense budget? And you can see the line items. And then you can look at, well, how's it tracking? How's actual tracking against budgeted? And it's a really it's a tool that allows for transparency. It's kept accurate. And from time to time, the public will look at it, but I
That's
think...
what, I guess that was going to be my question too.
Yeah.
Do you find that residents are really wanting to delve down and really read into the budget, or is it mainly board, committee, and commission members, town councilors, that kind of
I think
audience?
When there is question, they want that information available to them, and some of them will go to the extent of reviewing it and asking questions. When they have confidence in you, they're not seeking that. So it's almost a backup to us doing our jobs well. If we aren't communicating well, if the public doesn't feel like they're able to get the information that they want, then there's the automatic backup. And Mark Mill, Director of Finance, certainly understands this issue as well as anybody, managing the finances for our community. And he found this tool that's relatively easy to use, and we were recognized by the governor and lieutenant governor when we put this in place. We made a compact with the state for transparency in general, and certainly within our finance. And
the finance division too has won so many awards as far as budget awards, budget presentation awards, as well as continually having a AAA bond rating. So they are doing something right over there in that finance office.
Well, I think it comes right from the top down. It's our council and the leadership. It's our community through the council that prioritizes finance. I mean, look at what we've done with our school department relations, between municipal and schools. We meet weekly to talk about all sorts of issues. We have one finance director. We have one human resources director. We share other facilities-related tasks, as well as anything that we've made Ruth Weil, our town attorney, available to certainly help think through legal-related questions in the absence of an on-staff attorney for the school department. So we try to manage the issues in Barnstable in a way that truly, and people will look at me and say, really, Mark? There are not other communities in Massachusetts that do this. In fact, when we meet with them, they're very skeptical that a municipality and a school department would work together on their finance. Yet we draw from the same customer, the same pot, absolutely. Yeah. Why wouldn't we be in close coordination and look at what the priorities of the community are and make sure that there are ample resources to support those priorities? Right. Why would any community not do it that way?
It seems too that the town is saving a lot of money. It's made it efficient, made sure everyone's on the same page, and also sort of probably streamlining that process and saving the town money on some staff. Keeping it.
Certainly, we try to add any efficiencies that we can, but it's more. We have a $206 million budget a year, so we're a fairly we're a medium-sized organization, and we have complex issues. We serve a very broad customer base. When the actual deliverables are generally clear, but not well defined in many cases. So trying to keep an eye on things like customer satisfaction are tough at times because everybody's measuring you against something different. So we're trying to balance the demands for service on us, and we need to make sure that we have the right tools and the right people in place to do that. So you asked the question about saving money on things. I think we probably put out a better product first, and then we try to gain efficiencies through managing appropriately. And when we can save money, that's great, and we can put it toward another priority. And there are certainly endless lists of needs, and then maybe you get to wants.
Yeah, but quality product, of course, first priority.
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's your education, your public safety, your environment, infrastructure, there's some major areas to make sure that we're managing appropriately.
Well, real quick before I let you go, you recently did approve a couple rate increases. Those will begin the next fiscal year?
FY
July
18,
1st.
July 1st, yes. So those will go into effect at HYCC, at solid waste, and a modified fee relevant to events out here in public space will go into effect as well, and the water rates will be approved shortly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for stopping by today. Really enjoy getting to chat with you every week, and look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Thank you for having me.
My guest today, Town Manager Mark Ells. Up next, we're going to find out more about State Representative Randy Hunt's plan to give Cape Codders more choices when it comes to internet providers.
Well, it's good to talk to you today, Sarah. You know, we have a busy week on Beacon Hill next week dealing with the budget. And so we'll be there probably till Wednesday or Thursday, late night hours, trying to iron out about a $50.5 billion spending budget.
Yeah, it's got. You guys work pretty late hours too, I think. Is there a limit to how late you can work when you're working on the budget? Is it midnight? I think it ends. You have to stop by midnight.
Any session that goes beyond 9 p.m. has to have a vote of the people there to extend it beyond 9 p.m., but the limit is midnight. So I've only been in one session where things went a few minutes after midnight, and I didn't see it written up anywhere that happened. I think they unplugged the clock right at 11:59, something like that.
No one really noticed, right? Everyone just let that one slide, I guess. Well, let's talk about an amendment you have to the budget. This is kind of an interesting amendment. This is actually to allow competition for Comcast, because right now, as we know, they don't have much competition. So tell me a little bit about this amendment that you've proposed. Yeah,
the background is, number one, Verizon has said repeated times that it is not coming across the canal with their Fios fiber optic system. And so that then leaves residents on Cape Cod without an alternative to Comcast for high-speed internet. I mean, you could have DSL, DSL is like having standard definition next to high definition. So it's not really a competitive service to the internet. So all we have for an option for internet service is Comcast. But we have sunk, the state putting $5 million, the feds putting in about $33 million, and some other funding, including some money from the county, a total of $40 million in Open Cape, which is a mid-mile network of fiber that runs all through Barnstable County. And they subscribe to primarily now business, big data using businesses, Joint Base Cape Cod, Woods Hole, municipalities, that type of thing. But they haven't taken the dive into residential service yet. And I want them to do that so that we have a viable and fast internet service that is competitive to the only option that we have on the table right now, which is Comcast.
Now, here's a question for you.
So we are going to do that by asking for a budget amendment to give us $225,000 to do at least 2 and hopefully 3 pilot projects where we can have Open Cape hook up the last mile. That means from their network to your house, either with fiber all the way to the house, or with a wireless type of system that has about 6 times the capacity that Comcast does over their cable. So what we're talking about service-wise is a fiber connection to your house, either by fiber wire all the way to the house, or with some sort of wireless that would service these residential buildings from the Open Cape fiber network. And the wireless is just a small dish, or even actually kind of looks like a beer can hanging out of your window. It's about that size. And with a wireless, you can get up to 1 gigabit of download speed. And what that means is, in comparison, the fastest you can get from cable is 150 megabits.
Really?
So we're comparing 150 to 1,000 in the possible amount of data that you can push up and down on this network. So what we're doing in the budget is asking for $225,000 to get a couple or three pilot programs started, a kickstart, so that Open Cape can get some residential subscribers to the service. And then, of course, since it's a nonprofit, anything that they can bring in subscription-wise that is better than break even, they can put that money right back into connecting more people. So it's kind of like a chicken and the egg. We need the connections to the users, but we need the user fees to make the connections. So this is a way to get that started.
Well, I have a couple questions for you about this. So first off, my first thought is, can Open Cape sustain more users?
Absolutely. The entire world's internet traffic could route through this Open Cape network here in Barnstable County. It has, and actually several times over. There is so much overcapacity that it's a shame that we're letting this $40 million investment sit here barely being tapped when we have a situation where there is a de facto monopoly over high-speed internet access in Barnstable County.
So I assume Open Cape is excited for the budget amendment and hoping that it goes through. How does Comcast feel about it? Do you expect pushback from Comcast lobbyists?
Well, the first thing that I did was call our legislative liaison with Comcast. Unfortunately, I had to leave a voicemail, but we had already arranged a meeting so that I could discuss what we're doing here. Because I don't want this to be, under the covers or a surprise or anything like that. I just want to have a competitive service on Cape Cod. And if that means that Comcast would have to drop their rates for internet access, I'm totally happy with that. But that's what competition does. So the whole idea is, let's roll this out, provide an alternative. The market will take care of itself. And once we have a proof of concept that residential service can be installed and maintained by Open Cape, then they will be able to expand that user base and really provide a competitive and actually much faster access to the internet than what we enjoy now.
Well, and people in other parts of the state do have the option. They do have, like you mentioned, Verizon as a competitor. They do have that FiOS system. So, we are kind of in a unique position here on the Cape.
Yeah, the problem with the Cape is that the density isn't such that Verizon believes that it makes sense to put FiOS on this side of the canal. It costs a lot to string up cable and do the last mile where they make the connection to all of the houses. And plus, they have to negotiate 15 contracts relative to the TV service with all 15 towns. So they have decided, at least for now, that they are not going to be bringing that across the canal. What I'm talking about, by the way, is access to the internet. I'm not talking about TV service.
Right.
But once you have high-speed internet access, you can get TV through a lot of different venues, like PlayStation View, and you don't need a PlayStation for that, by the way. You can get Hulu, you can get Showtime, HBO, you can get Netflix, CBS, All Access. All of these services are available to you without a cable subscription.
Well, and nowadays,
so once you have the bandwidth, you can choose what you want to watch.
And nowadays, so many more of us are cutting that cable and just relying on those Netflix, Hulu apps. We have smart televisions now. We have Rokus. So Apple TV, all kinds of options. It really does change the landscape of things. So really interesting, and many of us don't even have home phones anymore. We rely on our cell phones. So really interesting to see. How do you feel this is going to go? Are you thinking this has a chance to pass?
Well, if it passes, great. If it doesn't pass, I have a plan B.
What's the plan B, Randy?
So this is not going to live or die based on what happens on the budget this year. This is something I think everybody can get around and put pressure on the state to provide some funding to this nonprofit entity that we've sunk $40 million into to give us some comparable access to the internet.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I can't wait to see how it goes. Of course, want you to keep us updated on it, and good luck getting through that budget. Hopefully, you don't have too many late nights.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I'll be looking forward to next week and seeing what happens.
All right, can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you so much, Randy. We really appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Our guest today, State Representative Randy Hunt. A plan to build a solar array in Cotuit is on hold. We're going to find out more about that during our interview with Precinct 7 Town Councilor Jessica Rapp-Cressetti. So thank you so much for joining me today. Very excited to chat about Precinct 7. What issues are you working on right now in Precinct 7?
Hi, Sarah. It's good to be here. I am working right now. The last couple of weeks, we've been knee-deep in the Cotuit Water District's issue with regards to them putting in a solar array, and as you know, that was slated to come before the council, or did come before the council for a zoning amendment change to the ground-mounted solar overlay district, and that was withdrawn without prejudice, so I don't see that project moving forward. And it's a little cloudy there because it's in Precinct 7, but it's not actually the town putting this forward, it's the fire district putting it forward, so it's a little complicated, but that project won't be going forward. So.
And we did see a lot of residents coming to speak out against that project, many of whom were concerned about clear cutting.
That's right. They were proposing to clear cut 32 acres of pristine land, old growth land, right adjacent to Zone 1 and on top of water protected land. So I'm glad to see the residents came out. It's too bad that the process ended that way, or turned out to be that contentious, but everybody came out and their opinions were heard, so I'm glad that the process played out that way. So.
You know, and because they withdrew it without prejudice, that does mean they could bring it back in the future if they felt that they had community support.
They could. They'd have to start all over again. They'd have to bring the item before the council, and we'd refer it to the planning board because it is a zoning change. I think in this case, if it did come back, you'd see a lot of folks coming to the planning board meeting, which didn't happen before. A lot of people weren't aware of it because the abutters, direct abutters, don't have to be notified in writing. It's just a posting in the paper. So that's a big issue in the village. And you know, Cotuit is known for its open space. It's got the Crocker Neck Conservation Area, 97 acres of land there, and that's on Papaneset Bay. And then we have the Shoestring and Santuit River Conservation Area, and then of course the largest one, which is the now owned by Mary Barton Land Trust, and that's the Eagle Pond Little River Sanctuary, Bell Farm. What a magnificent accumulation of acreage there. It's a green space that's just lovely. People love to walk from Eagle Pond, and you can walk all the way down to Cordwood Landing, which is right on the Cotuit Harbor. So Precinct 7 is surrounded by water. Cotuit Harbor, the Narrows, which lead up into North Bay, as well as out to Nantucket Sound, and then over to Papaneset Bay and up Shoestring into Santuit River. We have two rivers, Santuit River and Little River.
And talking about water and water quality and water issues, there have been some changes or projects you're looking into. One of the projects you're looking into, or you think is an area of concern, is some dredging near Sampson's Island. That's a very popular place for individuals to head in the summer.
It is.
Let's talk about the dredging issue there.
The dredging is slated to go and take the point of Sampson's Island. It's Sampson's Island Dead Neck, which is a barrier beach to the Seapuit River, which is a saltwater river, and then also a barrier beach to Cotuit Harbor. But it has, over the years, become accreted with sands at the point, which is right across from Riley's Beach, which is not a guarded beach, but it is a town beach. and the channel there has become so occluded, it's becoming very dangerous. So the proponents, the Three Bays Preservation, undertook the permitting and engineering, and I understand they've spent quite a bit of money undertaking that, a lot of public outreach and whatnot. And they're close to securing the permits for this, and I think the last one they need is from the Army Corps of Engineers. But my constituents are very concerned about that because of the safety issue. It's becoming so close to the mainland that kids think, oh, it's real close, we could just swim across to the island, yet there's an extremely strong current running through there and boats passing back and forth, and we wouldn't want anybody to get hurt. We have had drownings there because of the strong current, but so I hope to see that project, and I hope the town will undertake and have it be part of a comprehensive dredge permit so that we can do ongoing maintenance so it doesn't get to a point where it's becoming dangerous. It should be something that's ongoing in maintenance.
Yeah, sort of checked in, because as we know, that sand moves around. It does not stay stationary.
That's
so
right.
A very important topic.
That's right.
Anything else on the council in general that you're working on that you'd like your constituents or residents to be aware of?
Well, water quality is very important to me, as you know, the closing of wells, and but not only our drinking water, but where we dispose and how we dispose of our wastewater. You know, especially Precinct 7 is got a lot of old cesspools because a lot of the houses haven't changed hands, so they're not even on Title V. So, you know, we've got to start putting some money down and making some projects happen with regards to wastewater throughout the entire town of Barnstable. I think this 208 process is great. We've you know, established bookends, alternatives, oysters on one end, or permeable reactive barriers. But there's going to be some areas in town where we're going to have to sewer, and I think the sooner we can delineate the projects and start putting money aside, the better we are town-wide. So.
Great. Well, thank you for the update. I really appreciate it. So informative. Appreciate you stopping by, and look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
My guest today, Town Councilor Jessica Rapcressetti from Precinct 7. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. Lyme disease is the most preventable infectious disease in Massachusetts and is now considered a public health crisis. Entomologist Larry Dapsis will share his knowledge about Lyme disease at the Hyannis Public Library next week. Dapsis will present a 3-point protection plan, giving residents the information they need to protect themselves, their yards, and their pets. The Tick Talk will be held Thursday, April 27th at 11 a.m. at the Hyannis Public Library. That, of course, is free to attend. Well, does your dog need a rabies shot? The Barnstable Animal Hospital is hosting a low-cost rabies clinic this Sunday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. All dogs will need to be on a short leash, and all cats must be in carriers. The cost for each vaccine is just $10. They do accept cash only. Here's and actually we don't have a full line of meetings today, just site plan review. That's happening at 9 this morning in the town, 9:30? 9 o'clock this morning in the Town Hall hearing room. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. Tomorrow, we're going to learn about Hyannis Open Streets with organizers Deb Crow and Jane Walsh. We're going to hear from Recreation Director Patty Machado about some really fun and exciting activities for kids, and we'll find out more about the Sandy Neck Beach cleanup with Natural Resource Officer Sean Cordes. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mann.